ya.
Welcome, guys.
What a day to be alive.
It is a day to be alive, indeed.
I think that's my new opening.
I know. It's great.
I like it.
I like it. Let's keep it.
Let's keep
Trademark. All right. Good evening. I almost said afternoon.
It's still late. It's still late. It is 9:47. Oh, it's a lot earlier than I thought it was.
I know. Yeah, same.
Wow.
I just realized that too.
Well, it's super dark out. I can't tell.
We just did an episode. Now we're doing another episode.
Yay, that's how we do our lives.
Woo!
Yay.
So, I'm traveling next weekend, so we were like, let's do 2. And
Yeah.
usually we do like every other weekend. So
Yeah.
now you guys know.
We like to give ourselves some times to figure out what we want to do, a little bit of researching, living our life, doing work.
Yes.
'Cause we're busy bees.
We are.
But we like to make time for each other.
We do. It's very sweet.
Yay.
Okay.
But how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I didn't tell you in the last episode that we did, but you were asking me what I did for my birthday.
Yeah.
On Wednesday, I went and saw Bert Kreischer, a stand-up comedian.
Oh.
He is probably one of the most popular. I went to my first Red Rocks show.
Oh, at Red Rocks? I love Red Rocks.
It was sold out. I didn't realize that it was sold out, but like if you're a somebody if you go to Red Rocks Amphitheater in Morrison, Colorado.
Oh my god, that place is the best.
It's so pretty.
Oh. Have you seen a concert there? No, you said that was your first one.
No, and it was a stand up, so it wasn't a concert, but the guy, he is so funny. He has Netflix specials, but if you guys
I've
ever
never
heard of him, he's great. He's a great comedian.
Nice.
He tells his jokes or his comedy in like a story mode, and I just absolutely love it. But
yeah,
because we were talking about James's race that he might do, and that we would get back super late. We didn't get home until like 12:30.
Oh, jeez.
And then I had to go to work at 7.
Yikes.
I was very tired.
That happens.
Yeah.
That's cool though. You got to see
I'm in my
comedian.
20s. We're in our 20s.
I love Red Rocks. I saw, I've been to a few concerts there.
Really?
Yeah. I saw One Republic years ago.
Really?
I think they're pretty good, but like my cousin and I went, like that was years ago. And then when I saw Bruno Mars there.
Wow.
And 21 Pilots.
Lucky.
Oh my
was
god.
That like, well, they had to have been super big by then.
Yes, so that was in 2016.
I had the opportunity to see 21 Pilots when they were small and they were at the Black Sheep.
Oh my god, you should have.
I know, and I regret it now.
Oh, they're so good. I love them.
Yeah, because a lot of like those alternative bands, you're like, well, who knows if they're going to make it. Well, they just ended up being probably one of the most famous bands in the world.
They're so good.
And I'm like, I could have seen them at this little tiny venue that's out of
Oh my god, they're so impressive live. Like, you've seen Red Rocks, but like they were literally climbing on top of the rocks. Like, they were on like harnesses and on the rocks, and then they like fly down. It was so crazy.
That's wild.
But also Bruno Mars put on a really good show too.
Yeah.
But his music's kind of changed, so
I don't.
It's very sexual now.
Oh.
Which is fine. All power to him, but like, I know,
I
it's
guess
different.
I don't listen.
Yeah. So every concert I've seen there has just been the best.
Yeah.
So cool. But my exciting news is I'm going to New York finally.
Woo!
Which, like, I've been wanting to go there my whole life. Like, I cannot believe I haven't been there yet. Especially I haven't seen a Broadway show, like, in New York, you know?
That's, like, the biggest thing to do.
So I'm going there for Thanksgiving. Don't worry, my family knows. I'm not ditching them. But yeah, we're going to New York for like 5 days, and so I'm gonna see all the shows. I might even see a glimpse of the parade, but
dude, it's gonna be crazy.
I know.
It's chaotic. It's gonna be super busy. Are they even having the parade this year, you think?
They had it last year.
Did they?
Yeah. I think last year they didn't have people there. It was just the performers and whatnot. Which would be even cooler, because then I could spy on it from far away.
Dude, hotels are going to be so expensive.
We've already looked into Airbnbs, and they're not bad right now, but if we wait, then they will be.
Oh,
so,
for sure.
Yeah. Because we found one that was in, like, New Jersey, which is, like, 15 minutes away.
Okay, so that's better. So,
right.
Because, honestly, in that area, you want to stay outside of the city.
So there's a cool Airbnb in New Jersey that, like, outlooks the skyline.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can see New York City, and then you just take a ferry, and it's, like, 15 minutes, and then you're downtown.
Oh.
I'm like, okay.
Bring a sweater. It's going to be cold.
Oh, I know. We were originally going to go somewhere warm. Like, we were, like, talking about Mexico, but then we were like, we don't have time to get, my sister needs a new passport.
Yeah.
We don't have time to do that.
Yeah, it's crazy how long it takes because we're thinking for James and I on our vacation to go to like Canada, but I'm like, I need to renew my passport.
Yeah.
And right now it's like taking months to get them. To renew them. And I'm like, I would need a new photo because I look nothing like what I did in mine.
Yeah, mine's pretty rough.
I had my emo fringe going on. I remember from going to the Bahamas that we needed like the passports. I don't know why I remember this outfit so vividly. But I had like my like reddish black hair kind of this thing going on. And I was wearing a Hello Kitty t-shirt. It was blue. It had Hello Kitty and it said Hello Kitty. And then I had a bow in my hair.
Kitty.
I don't know.
In your passport picture, you have a bow in your hair?
Not the passport photo, but on the first day loading.
On the first day there. Okay.
I don't know why I remember that so vividly, but I do. And I had these like, I put on like these fake acrylic nails, and on like the tip of them was like zebra print, like colorful zebra print.
Oh my god. You were defining the like early 2000s.
It was so bad. And then I got like the worst sunburn of my life. It was a great trip. Like I want to go on another cruise to like the Bahamas or even like any of that area, maybe around like Mexico. But now I know, put sunscreen on repeatedly. Like it comes off in the water. Do not sunbathe without it on because you will get a blister back like me.
We don't need that.
No, and then our flight got delayed.
Oh, love that.
Yeah, it was awful. It was awful.
Oh man, gotta love traveling.
No.
And like my biggest thing right now is I'm trying to decide what Broadway shows I want to see the most.
Oh, yeah.
Because like I tried to make a list, but then I couldn't put them in order because it's like choosing my favorite child. I'm like, I can't do it. So
I really wanted to see Anastasia when it came.
Oh yeah,
because I think it came to the Buell.
Yeah,
and I didn't get to see it, but I think they're doing the Hammerstein's Cinderella at one of the local theaters here.
Oh, cool!
I really want to go see that. I might take my mom to that.
I'll come.
Yes,
I'm gonna see Waitress here in January.
Ooh.
I'd rather see it in New York, but also it's cheaper here, so I'll just see it.
Is it at the Buell?
It's at the Pikes Peak Center.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So excited. That's one of my favorite shows. Anyway, okay, so don't even get me started on musicals because I'll talk forever. Are we ready?
Yes.
You don't know who I'm talking about.
I don't know.
I will say there's a few similarities to the one that you talked about last week.
Yeah.
Like, originally we were both going to do, like, Mad Queens, and it just didn't work out that way. We both chose, like, pretty...
We got sidetracked.
Put together. Yeah. I thought mine would end crazier because I got her mixed up with someone else. Yeah. So I was waiting for the story when I was researching, and I was like, when does it happen? And then I realized that was someone else. So then I was like, oh, so there's nothing crazy. So I'm kind of glad we took the same approach. And, and definitely later on, guys, we're going to talk more about the Mad Queens because there's so many to talk about. Like, honestly, it was hard to choose. But today I'm going to be talking about Catherine the Great. Yes.
I watched the TV show on Hulu.
Oh, yeah. I know. I saw that. I was like, I need to watch that.
Because her husband's Alexander, right?
We'll talk about it.
He's kind of a bitch.
We'll talk about it. 'Cause that's you're jumping very far ahead.
I know. But yeah, she's great.
Yeah. So you can tell me like what's similar in the show as to like what I tell you.
There's only one season.
Okay. I should watch it. All right. So I just realized the show existed today, or else I would have watched it to research.
It's great. But what's it? Nicholas Hoult is in it. I love him.
Nicholas Hoult.
I don't know. He was Warm Bodies.
I didn't watch that.
Jack and the Giant Slayer.
Didn't watch that.
Oh God, you're missing out. Watch.
I don't
Warm
know
Bodies.
actor names.
Watch Warm Bodies. It's like
the vampire one.
No, it's a Romeo and Juliet like apocalyptic.
Oh, I thought it was vampire
or zombie movie.
Zombies. Oh, okay.
I freaking love that movie. I swear we saw it together.
We probably did, but I don't remember. I have a really bad memory.
God, that movie's great.
All right. Well, anyway, let's jump into it. I got really into researching that, like, I have a lot of notes because I was just like, wow, that's so interesting. So, just bear with me. Okay. So Catherine the Great was born Sophie Frederick August. I don't know how to speak Russian, or I guess this is German. On May 2nd, 1729. Yeah. So, she was the Empress of Russia from 1762 to 1796. Okay. So, I'm jumping like a century after you. Yeah. But it's still cool that you went first and yours was... Okay. Anyway, so her name is Sophie, but I'm just going to call her Catherine because we know her as Catherine.
Why is she called Catherine?
That's just her name that she gets when she goes to Russia.
What the fuck?
Okay, so just bear with me. We'll get there. When she was born, they never thought she'd become the Empress. They were like, there's no way, like... That was just never a thought in their mind. Because she was not in Russia. She was not Russian at all. Yeah. At that time, she was completely German, and she was in Germany. So then they moved to Russia when she was a young kid, but she's not Russian. Okay. But her reign is in Russia.
What? I don't think that would matter, though, because if you even look at Marie Antoinette, she was Polish or Austrian.
It doesn't matter because she ends up being it. But they just don't, they would never predict that would happen.
Well, it's Russia.
Yeah. So her father is he's a minor German prince, and her mom was a minor aristocrat, just like Christy. That's what I'm going to call her for short. Just kidding. Christine. That you were talking about, her mom was so pissed that she was a girl. Yeah. Like, because she was like, oh, I'm finally pregnant. Like, I can't wait to have our heir. And then, like, it's a girl. And she, like, immediately hated her daughter from the very beginning. Like, despised her.
It's so unfortunate.
Yeah. And she was only 17 when she had Catherine. So, shit. And it was because she was in an arranged marriage, obviously. Yeah. So, like, she wasn't happy in her marriage. And then she's not happy when she gets pregnant, when she finds out it's a girl. You know, when she has the baby and it's a girl, like, it's just complete disappointment. Yeah. And so she's not doing pretty well. But just like Christine, her dad is like, whatever, it's fine, who cares? And also her dad is much older than her mom.
Of course.
So that was also one of the things that she was disappointed by. She didn't really care about her husband. Mm-hmm. It's never what she wanted. Catherine as a kid was very clumsy and accident prone. One time she dislocated her spine by sneezing.
What?
Which, like, I would do that. But yeah, she just had a lot of accidents. And so that was another thing where her mom would be like, oh my God, Catherine. Like, she was just the worst. She just hated her so much. So when Catherine, and we don't know a lot about her dad, like, it was more so focused on her mom and her relationship, because her dad was really busy.
Oh, well, of course, he's running, doing stuff.
Yeah, and so, and, like, their relationship, like, whatever, he was cool with her. Yeah. But, like, the main focus is her relationship with her mom, because it, like, leads to stuff in the future. So, when Catherine was young, she met Frederick the Great, when she was just 4 years old. She was told to kiss his horn as a mark of respect. So they were like, if you want to talk to him, you must kiss him. He was a future king. Yeah. So she was like, I'm not that tall. You got to bow down to me. So, shit. So she, like, made him bow down so that she could kiss his horn. And he loved it. He thought it was hilarious.
I bet.
And so he was like, I will never forget you, child. like from the very beginning, she just had, like, the way she carried herself was like,
very confident.
Yeah. She's so confident.
With grace.
Yeah. So yeah, Frederick was like, I'll never forget you. And he did it. So Peter the Great's grandson, at this time, his name was Peter Ulrich. He was Ulrich. I think it's Ulrich. The CH. Yeah. In Russian. Mm-hmm. Okay. He was 11 when he and 10-year-old Catherine met. And they became friends pretty quickly, but, like, they weren't super close. They were, like, acquaintances. Mm-hmm. But he had a lot of issues, a lot of, like, childhood trauma. Mm-hmm. And so he was very neurotic and damaged. Yeah. Like, he was just a disaster. He was left in a tutor and was beaten and tortured all his life.
Jesus Christ.
By his family. So, like, he never was shown love. Like, it was just constant abuse. And so that kind of leads to him becoming the so-called villain later on. And I mean, that's not an excuse for it, but it could be, like, part of the reason why he ended up so crazy. Yeah. And he's insane. He has a lot of psychological issues. But yeah, a lot of that abuse is what kind of triggered him to become a crazy man.
Yeah.
But Catherine and Peter, they hit it off right away. Like, they were like, yeah, you're pretty cool. Not bad. But then they, like, didn't see each other for a while. They were like, all right, well, bye. Good to meet you. But on December 5th, 1741, there were a group of guards who marched into Russia's infant emperor, Ivan VI, and arrested him and his mother. So they were done with being the emperor. And so the next day, they were both locked away and taken away forever. So Moscow had to get a new ruler. And so they went to Peter the Great, Peter Ulrich's dad.
Yeah.
And they went to his daughter, which was Empress Elizabeth. So she was, like, known for being, like, obsessed with clothes and looking amazing. She was, like, she's, like, the opposite of Mean Girls, where she would be, like, I'm the only one that gets to wear pink. Nobody else.
Oh, my God.
Like, she literally did not let anyone else wear pink. She wanted to be the only one. And she was really into, like, living a good life. And so she was known for, like, fun and materialistic items.
Yeah.
And she did not have any kids.
Oh.
So she basically invited Peter Ulrich to Moscow to be her son. Mm-hmm. And so that way she could have an heir. And I was confused by their relation, because I was like, Peter the Great's daughter, but then, I feel like she'd be his sister, because they would have the same dad. That's why I'm confused.
Yeah. You wouldn't have siblings, maybe?
Maybe. But anyway, so I think it's her brother, but now it's her so-called son.
They just changed it.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't have successors?
Yeah, I don't really know. I was just kind of like, okay. 2 years later, so now we're in 1743, there was a letter that came to Joanna, which is Catherine's mom.
Yeah.
And this was from Empress Elizabeth to come see Moscow along with Catherine. And then when they didn't respond to that, or, like, they just didn't hear anything else, there was another letter that came, and it was, like, hints of people who worked for the Empress, and, like, they were hinting at the fact that Catherine could marry, and then she would be able to drop her daughter forever. Yeah. Like, they're like, hey, she can get married here, and then you never have to see her again. Because, like, they kind of knew about Catherine, and because of, like, the way that they've met before. Yeah. And they knew that, like, her mom was just kind of like, I want her out of here. So she gets the letter, and it's like, hey, we can marry your daughter off. And she's like, okay, sounds good.
Sounds about right.
So then Catherine was going to Russia. And that's kind of what led to her going to Russia pretty quickly from Germany. So this is, like, what Joanna's been waiting for. She's like, oh, finally, I can get rid of her. Like, I cannot wait. So they received money for Catherine to, like, buy clothes so that she could come and, like, impress him and, like, get married, you know. But when they sent Joanna the money, she spent it all on herself.
Of course she did. Go figure.
So she bought herself, like, nice clothes, nice jewelry, because she wanted to look best for the day that she could dump her daughter.
Oh my God.
I gotta look good for this day. Yeah, she, like I said, she doesn't like her daughter. So that winter, they end up going to St. Petersburg. So they're on their way. And then they finally get there. Catherine, the way that she feels about this arranged marriage is it doesn't matter, right? Yeah. Like, they don't have a say in it. Because if we think about Europe in the 18th century, like, arranged marriages are happening all the time.
Oh, yeah, especially if you have that high status. Like, you should know by now that you're not going to marry a commoner.
Right, that's the norm. Like,
exactly.
So she doesn't question it. Like, it doesn't matter what she thinks. Even if she doesn't want to, it doesn't matter. And she was only 14 at the time.
That's so young.
Yeah. And she was known to be, like, she's a very desirable person. Like, people enjoyed being around her. She was very witty, confident, like we mentioned, disarming. And she was also fighting off, like, other marriage proposals. Yeah. So, like, many men were interested in her, including one from her uncle.
Ew.
Yeah. He proposed to her. Anyway, so she gets to Moscow, and there's this big greeting for her. They're like, oh, welcome, no. And she's charming everyone. She's just walking around meeting everybody, charming them, like getting to know them. It's just her natural personality. Mm-hmm. And then she sees Peter again, because they haven't seen each other in a while. They're grown up now, a little bit. And so
a little bit.
Like 4 years later.
Is he much older than her?
He's a year older.
Oh, shit, really?
Yeah. Because he was 11, and she was 10 when they met.
Oh, so their age difference isn't that much.
Right. Peter Ulrich is the exact opposite of her. Like, the way that she's, like, so charming and friendly. Yeah. He hates everything. They called him a miserable black hole. He literally went into a room and sucked out all the joy. So they called him a black hole. Specifically, he hated Russia.
Oh my god.
He hated Moscow. And he hated Elizabeth. And he's not a big fan of Catherine either. So he's instantly hating everything. So
he's a goth kid.
Pretty much.
He's punk.
Yeah. He likes Prussia, but that's it. But yeah, so then she gets there and she's like, hi, Peter. And he's just like, ugh. Whatever.
Oh my god, leave me in middle school.
He's like, stop talking to me. Hides in his hair.
I'm gonna go sit in the corner and listen to My Chemical Romance.
Yes. So when she moves to Russia from Germany, it's very different. There's a lot of things that are completely different. It kind of feels like an alien land to her. For one, there's more cities there, so she's not used to seeing all these cities. And she also grew up Lutheran, and Russia was exotic Orthodox. And they had a lot of the beliefs of Eastern Christianity.
You know what else is a big change? From beer to vodka.
That's true. That is very important. But Catherine didn't really care. It took her a while to, kind of understand the differences and, feel like she, could get used to it, I guess.
It's culture shock.
Yeah. But she wanted to fit in. She wanted people to like her. And Peter hated that. He's like, why do you care what other people think?
Oh my god.
I got to go play toy soldiers.
He's so emo.
He plays soldiers a lot, by the way.
He plays soldiers?
Yeah, he pretends that he's a soldier.
I think he does that in the show.
Yeah. He's psychotic.
I haven't... He's pretty crazy in the show,
I need to watch the show.
You do.
So, while she's living in Russia, she decides to study Russian. She's like, I might as well learn it. And then she begins to convert to Orthodoxism. So she's getting used to that new culture, and she's like, let's try it out. And of course, they wanted her to. But she was always complimented strangers, so she'd walk around and just compliment everybody, and even her servants, she would treat them so well, throughout the rest of her life. She was just always nice to everyone. Didn't matter who it was.
That's how you gain respect.
Right. And so she bestowed the title of Grand Duchess, along with the name Catherine. So that's when her name turned into Catherine instead of Sophie. Or Yekaterina in Russian. That's her actual Russian name, but we call her Catherine. Cat. Just kidding. Catty. She grew more popular. People were like, oh my gosh, she is just amazing. Look at her go. Grand Duchess. And so when Peter saw this, he's like, ugh. And so he became more cruel towards her. Absolutely despised her. And remember, they're still planning on getting married.
Yeah.
Peter came down with smallpox.
Oh my god.
So he's just really funny to me. But he gets smallpox 6 weeks, or a few weeks before their wedding took place. And then it took him 6 weeks to recover.
Yeah.
So he gets smallpox and everyone's like, ew, don't go near me. And then finally he recovers, but his face is badly scarred. And so Catherine was like, I can't even look at you. And so she didn't even want to look at him. And everyone was like, ew. They would see him and go, ew. And so Peter was like, why does nobody like me? And then locked himself in rooms.
Oh my god.
People would try to get him to come out, and he'd be like, nah. He would refuse to do anything but dress his servants in Prussian army uniforms and play soldiers.
Oh my god.
So, again, he's crazy. So he would make his servants pretend that they're soldiers.
Yeah.
Love that for him. He only showed himself for his wedding on August 21st, 1745. That's when they got married.
Yeah.
Catherine was, after their wedding, they led her to a bedroom where they would create their heir. And so she's waiting there for him for hours in the dark.
Is she like 15?
16 when they got married.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So she's waiting for him to come. She's like, hello? She's just laying there on the bed in the dark. And it probably took them a while to take her clothes off. Think about how much they wore. And so she's waiting. And then Peter, you hear like the door open and Peter's like, what's up? He's like drunk off his mind.
Oh my god.
And then he immediately collapsed. Jesus. So no baby making that happen that day.
Oh my god.
Throughout their marriage was very toxic.
Well, no shit.
Yeah. But she knew that like she had to survive it. She had to make it work. And so she tried with him, but like he would just consistently like tear her down. And she was just like, whatever. So in late 1745, Elizabeth was mad at Catherine because they were like, hey, where's your children? You're supposed to make kids by now. And so she's like, there's no heirs. What are you going to do? And so she actually wrote her a note telling her to get knocked up fast. She's like, we need a child. Make one. And Catherine's like, fine. Peter, though, is avoiding sex because he just wants to play toy soldiers all day.
I think he definitely has issues.
It's definitely like a development thing.
I think so, too.
I think because his childhood was such shit that he's like still recouping from it.
I think he's reverting back to a child, like a simpler childhood that he wanted.
Yeah. But he was consistently living in his fantasy.
Yeah.
So then he would just be in his room all the time. They would just kind of do their own thing. Yeah. But one time, Catherine walked into his room, and he was holding a rat. He was pretending that the rat was in court. and then he said that the rat was guilty, and then cut its head off.
Holy shit! That's a sign of a psychopath.
Yeah, and she was just kind of like, what did I just see? And so then she was like, all right, he's a little crazy. I'm kind of done trying with him for a bit. Like, he's just going to do his own thing, whatever. Yeah. And so this is where she starts to have affairs, which happens a lot. But he knows about it. Like, yeah. It's not secretive. Yeah, he does not give a shit. So she had an affair with Sergei Saltykov, something like that.
Sergei?
Probably. I don't know. Anyway, she's having an affair with this guy, and she's like, maybe he'll get me pregnant. Because obviously Peter's not going to do anything. He's too busy playing toy soldiers. And again, Peter knows, and he's just like, whatever, I don't care. But she couldn't get pregnant. It took a very long time, and she even miscarried multiple times. She even tried with different men to have a child, but she just consistently miscarried from her different affairs. 9 years later, she's finally pregnant. Yeah, 9 years.
9 years. 9 years of him playing toy soldiers?
Yeah. Because on October 1st, 1754, her baby Paul was born. And this is not Peter's child.
Ah, shit.
They don't know whose kid it is. But it's not his. Because he didn't have sex with her.
Never?
No.
Shit.
Yeah. He just wasn't interested in it.
Yeah.
So, the moment the baby was born, people stopped caring about Catherine. They're like, oh, whatever. Now we have a baby. Woohoo! And so Elizabeth actually took the baby from her and was like, I'm going to raise it. Like, I got it. Don't worry. And Catherine was like, it's my baby. What are you doing? But after she had the kid, like, she was in so much pain. Like, she almost didn't survive the birth. And that's because a lot of people like weren't with her. They weren't there to support her. So she literally laid in her own blood for hours.
Oh my God.
Like wanting help, but nobody cared to help her because they were too focused on the baby.
Yeah.
And she was too weak to move. So she kind of enters this depressing stage, in her life. And now that there's this baby, everyone's ignoring her. Like they're just like, screw you.
Well, that's because she's a woman. And at that point they're like, well, she's done her duty.
Right. Yeah, and there's a point where she can hear everyone partying and celebrating his life while she's, like, in horrible pain, just, like, laying in the dark. So
that can create some
bad. Right. The only person who ever talked to her throughout this whole time, and this was like a few weeks, was Peter. Once walked in, just one time.
Yeah.
Walked in and like was super drunk, and he would just be like, "Hi," and then he would leave. Like that was once. That's the only time anyone ever talked to her. He like, I don't remember what he said, but he mumbled something, just like a phrase, and then like walked away. So she's like, all right, my life sucks right now, but I need to pick myself up. Like, I can't just, like, sit here in pain. I'm going to have to move on. And so she does everything she can, and she knows she doesn't want to give up. And so while she's recovering, she's trying to get her mind off of everything.
Yeah.
So she starts reading Voltaire and plotting her return to the court. She's like, I'm gonna take over. I got this. On Peter's birthday, she managed to finally get herself up and take control. So he's having his birthday party. I kind of love this. He's like obviously drunk because he's just this super crazy alcoholic, and she comes down and just absolutely crashes his party.
Yeah.
And she invites him herself because like she wasn't invited, and so she just walks in unannounced and like looking amazing. Like she's like, "What's up?" And she knows that she's the mother of the heir. She knows she's important. And so she does not let anyone tell her she's not. So she walks in with all that confidence, and she goes up to every single person who ignored her and was like, "Hey, why did you ignore me? I was struggling. Why weren't you there for me?" Like just calls everybody out on their shit. Like just walks around the room. And, she just decides like, I'm going to stand up for myself from now on. Like I'm not letting anyone do this to me again.
Yeah.
And so she's like, and I'm not going to get isolated again. Like, y'all better be there for me.
If and not, like, off with your head.
Yeah, right? And then Peter's just like, get her away.
Oh, my God.
So that was, like, the turning point for her where she's like, people are going to listen to me. I'm so cool. So in the 1750s, Catherine was very good at, like, buttering up people, especially in power.
Yeah.
So her main goal was to, like, get on people's good sides if she knew that they were powerful, and that they had a lot of control. So she would get really close to, like, leaders of armies, people in power, aristocrats, anyone who might be useful one day. She knew her connections.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, I got it. And so by the end of the decade, she even had 2 important lovers. The first one was Stanislaw Poniatowski. He was the future king of Poland.
Ooh.
And then Grigory Orlov, which was the man who'd make her the empress later on, which he'll come back. So she has these 2 lovers and gives birth to her second kid, Anna. Peter's still an alcoholic. I don't know if they know who's the dad of Anna, but I'm guessing either Grigory or Stanislaw, like one of them.
Yeah.
And so Catherine has 2 kids now, but she knows if she wants peace, she needs to get rid of Peter. So she's like, there's something needs to happen with him because he's just kind of like lays there all the time drunk. Doesn't really do anything. Yeah. So in 1756, there was a war that broke out that engulfed half the world, known as the 7 Years' War. And it involved most of the European powers. So that included Russia. And there was a big battle also brewing in the Russian court. So, in 1762, Peter began a public affair with Elizaveta Vorontsova. All right, so he was wearing Prussian uniforms because he's obsessed with Prussia.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, would rather be there.
Why?
It's the only thing he likes.
Why does he like
I don't know.
So much?
I don't know. But so he's wearing the Prussian uniforms and telling everyone not to fight Frederick the Great. So he's like kind of changing his side.
Yeah.
And being like, don't do it, guys. And he told Catherine that as soon as he would become emperor, that he would have her head shaved and throw her into a covenant. Like, he's like, I'm done with you. Like, as soon as I'm emperor, you're done for. Like, threatened her.
Why?
Just because he hated her.
Oh my God.
So, on January 5th, 1762, which was right after this, Empress Elizabeth died.
Oh, shit.
Time for someone to take over, and that person is Peter. So, Peter elevated to the throne as Peter III. And his first act was to hold a big funeral for Elizabeth. Second act was to make Catherine suffer. So, his way of doing this was walking around and humiliating her. He tried to get her to confess that Paul was not his son. Mm-hmm. And she was like, no, they don't need to know that. So he's just walking around making fun of her, like, consistently. And again, he hates Russia. So he's also walking around trying to dismantle the whole country.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so everything became pro-Prussian, anti-Russian, and anti-Catherine.
Oh my God.
Like, you have to feel this way about Prussia, you have to feel this way about Russia, and then you have to hate Catherine. And so that's what he's trying to get everybody to do. Jesus. And so people start, like, following his direction. So on July 8th of that year, Catherine's lover that I mentioned earlier, Grigory Olav, he came to her and he was like, let's overthrow this asshole.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because, like, I'm done with his shit. I love this guy. I love Grigory. He's awesome. And so that's what they did. So Grigory Orlov, he actually put a coup together that he organized with a lot of his brothers.
Yeah.
And somebody else who will appear later. Another Grigory. I'll talk about him later.
Oh, God.
And so they basically planned that they're going to overtake him. So Catherine dressed in a male uniform with 14,000 soldiers and rode out to meet all the army units that have been loyal to her. Yeah. And at this point, more people were joining in and declaring loyalty for her. So she's just taking over on this horse, and they're all surrounding her.
Well, yeah, because she's not anti-Russian.
Exactly. So they're like, oh, okay, cool. And so now it was clear that no one in Moscow stood against her, and everyone was on her side. And so they just come up to Peter, and he's like, I'm sorry.
Can I go to Prussia? Yeah. Can I go fight soldiers?
Yeah. And so on July 9th, 1762, Catherine declared Empress Catherine II. Oh, so she overtook that bitch. And Peter was like Peter just instantly was asking for mercy.
Yeah.
He's like, I love you. I always have. And Catherine was like, nah, you're done.
Oh.
And so she actually placed him under house arrest.
Oh, shit.
She's like, you're a drunkard, you're psychotic, you should not be out in public. And so now he's under house arrest. And 8 days later, he died. People don't know how he died, but they think he might have had a really bad case of hemorrhoids. And a lot of people think that he was also strangled, possibly by Orlov.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So, people think that, from what they've been told, that it's hemorrhoids. But some people are like, nah, I think he was probably, killed.
Well, can they exhume the body and find out?
I don't think they ever tried. So, that we don't know. We don't know. Anyway, so Catherine is now crowned Empress of Russia, and officially on September 22nd, 1762. So 5 years later... she's ruling Russia. She's doing great. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then she sends out the instruction of Catherine the Great, which this is basically when Russia would conform to the ideals of the Enlightenment. And so all of the people who were slaves could now be considered citizens.
Yeah. And
be treated like humans, which is crazy that they weren't already. But now she's like, you guys should be treated like people. And they're like, what? What a concept. But although it sounded like a really good idea, nobody went through with it. Even her, she did a bad job at executing it.
Yeah.
She had this really good idea, but didn't know how to
go about it.
Yeah. So then a war broke out, and then they completely forgot about that.
Oh my God.
12 years into her rule, she dropped any pretense of governing by the committee. So now she's going to force her reforms through by personal decree. Wow. So she's like, I can do this on my own. So she did a lot of different things during her reign. One was that she opened the first schools for orphans. Oh. She opened for the first hospitals for the destitute. She encouraged girls into education. Another similarity.
Oh.
And so she focused heavily on educating and how women should be able to have the same opportunities.
Yeah.
She even helped police become more civilized. So instead of them using their power against them and being violent, she encouraged them to truly care about everyone.
Oh.
So she did a lot for the surrounding areas. And then she also built some great cities like the port of Odessa, which is for skilled immigrants. So she actually built a place that immigrants could come and work. And then this part is really cool. She made the first detailed mapping of Russia.
Oh, wow.
Because somebody came to her and was like, hey, this town in Russia needs help. And she was like, where is it? And they were like, I don't know. And she couldn't find it on a map. So she wanted to make sure that all those towns would be on the map. Yeah, so she was like, okay, we're changing that. And ended up creating one.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Because Russia's huge.
Right.
I think it was a different size then.
Right. Now, this all sounds really great, but 18th century Russia is 95% rural, and most of her reforms were in urban areas. So she's really only helping like 5% of the population.
Yeah.
So it all sounds fantastic and everything, but it's not helping a lot of people.
No, look how freaking big Russia is.
Yeah. And even like the focus she had at the beginning with like slavery.
Yeah.
None of that has changed.
Yeah.
So really it's not like the upper class, they're doing great. Some of the middle class is doing great, but like...
She needed someone to help execute her plans.
Yeah.
Like, she had good ideas, but she needed help with someone to be like, okay, here's the strategy, let's execute it, this is how we can manage it.
Right.
I don't think she had, like, a good person to help manage or to help pretty much make it happen.
Yeah. And someone does come that I'm about to mention that who kind of helps with those things. But yeah, it would have been nice to have, because Russia's so big, you know. Mm-hmm. Grigory Potemkin, he actually was one of the people who helped Orlov organize the coup to overthrow Peter. So he comes back, and he's still very passionate about wanting to help Catherine. So he's now in the imperial court, and he's charming his way into power. He's a lot like Catherine, where he's very charming. Yeah. And, like, people love him. He's very ambitious and fearless. And people don't think he's very good looking, but he's attractive because of his confidence. Mm-hmm. So a lot of similarities to Catherine. And they're just a really good match. They work together really well. So he starts to work with her with trying to execute those things. And they fall in love. So in 1774, they actually became lovers and got married. Well, they think they got married.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure. But they both wanted the power. I think that was a big issue for them, was the power struggle, because they were married for 6 years, mm-hmm. which is pretty good, but they just realized that, like, they couldn't have business and a relationship. Mm-hmm. So they made a deal. And the deal was that he would now serve as her political advisor, but she would sleep with different men. So that way they could be like, okay, this is business. We can work on the business side of things, but we won't be, like, emotionally attached.
Yeah.
And so she's, in the public eye, they're together.
Yes. But
she's, like, behind the scenes, she's sleeping with other men.
She's doing her thing.
Right. And she was known for this a lot. So in 1789, there was a revolution in France that broke out because of Enlightenment.
Heck yeah.
And then Catherine was like, they brought it up to her, and she's like, I don't know what that is. Like, why would we focus on that? So, like, she has a complete 360 where they're like, you used to want to solve that issue.
Yeah.
Like, you used to want to be in that boat of Enlightenment. And she's like, what? What are you talking about? And, like, just completely changes her mind. Which everyone's like, okay. So, like, a lot of her ideals start to change as she gets older.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And then Potemkin, her lover, died in 1791. Which left Catherine just completely lonely and, like, depressed. So she decides to devote all her attention to her grandson, Alexander.
Oh!
Yeah. So, she wants to pass her son, Paul, over for succession. She didn't want to pass him on.
Yeah.
She would rather have Alexander. So she's like, I'd rather have my grandson than you.
I bet Paul was not very happy.
Oh, yeah. Paul wanted revenge.
Oh, God.
He's like, oh, mother, screw you. Who's my dad?
Be like, you're technically not in line.
Yeah. So, November 5th, 1796, Catherine was found on the floor of her bedroom, which was more than likely from a stroke.
Oh, shit.
Is what they realized. And the stroke, she was able to, like, wake up from it for a bit, but then she died the next day. So she died November 6, 1796. Alexander was too young to take over at that point. So Paul ascended to the throne, and he decided to trash everything that was in his mother's legacy.
Of course.
So he burned all her papers. This part, so he decides to dig up Peter's body and have a formal funeral for him, because Catherine never wanted a funeral for him.
Oh, shit.
And so he has this big celebration for Peter, because he knows how much Catherine hated Peter. And then he buries Catherine right next to Peter.
Oh, no.
So not only did they have a toxic marriage, but they have to live forever next to each other.
That's petty.
Yep. And that is Catherine the Great.
Well, did Alexander ever do anything?
I don't know. I didn't research that, but I'm sure.
Shit, that tea is strong.
I know. I just, I cannot believe that he was so petty that he's like, look, I dug up his body, and honestly, now you get to be next to him.
That's a bitch move.
I know.
I'm gonna be honest. That's messed up.
And, it doesn't make any sense, because he was mad at her because she didn't want him to succeed her, but then he was able to anyway.
Yeah.
So at that point, wouldn't you be like, whatever?
No. Well, you have to think, people in that kind of lineage, or even that line, they get petty over the most ridiculous things.
Oh, yeah.
And especially when it comes to power, they will do the most ridiculous stuff. Like with Hatshepsut.
Yeah.
When we talked about it, her son completely dismantled her. Mm-hmm. It was Tutmo. Oh my god, why can't I remember? But it was her, it was her stepson.
Oh, yeah.
He ended up, when he took the throne, because they were co-regents.
Yeah.
Pretty much because he was too young, and she then kind of swept under him and was like, nah, you're gone. Mm-hmm. I'm the queen. It was similar to that, to when she finally died, he came in and was like, bitch, you're gone. You're done. And so it's similar to this, everything that she did, dismantled.
That's so crazy.
But it's that's the kind of pettiness that they do.
Yeah, they didn't know how else to solve this.
It's wild. Because honestly, just monarchy and just that part of history is just so confusing. There's so much going on. It's just, there's so many people.
Yeah.
But it's also the most petty.
Right.
For things that go on, how these wars start and whatnot.
It's ridiculous. It's so funny.
It really is. It's hilarious. You're you're fighting for what?
I just wish I could see Peter and make fun of him for his dumb decisions.
He was not meant to be a ruler.
No, not at all.
No. I think he should have just given up his throne, gone to Prussia to be a soldier.
Right. He loved Prussia so much.
I don't get that, unless he went to Prussia once as a kid and just fell in love with it. Had he even been to Prussia?
Yeah, I don't remember the backstory on that, but yeah, I mean, it was hard for him to get over his childhood trauma, which I get, but
oh yeah, it's just, it definitely affects you as a person. I think it did for him, but yeah. I think just he should have seen it coming.
Right.
At that point, but he could have been just so in his own fantasy world and just drunk all the time that he just didn't realize oh, I'm gonna be overthrown. Mm-hmm. But God, freaking Paul, always the Pauls.
God, freaking Paul. I don't know what I learned.
I learned that make sure before you die that you're not going to have someone succeed you and be petty. Even if it comes to even if you're just a rich child for inheritance.
Yeah.
People will destroy your life in the end.
True.
You're dead.
Yeah.
They will do petty things like Paul. Honestly, another thing that I learned was take matters into your own hand.
That's true.
That's what she did.
Yeah.
She wanted to freaking tell people, why did you completely ignore me when I needed you the most?
Right. Know your place. That's definitely a good one. Be confident in who you are and don't take shit from nobody.
Mm-hmm. That was a good one. I'm glad that you covered that one. It makes me want to rewatch that series on Hulu.
Is there just a few episodes?
It's a whole season. They're about an hour long. I think there's like 13 episodes maybe.
Is it just during her reign?
So it starts from like the very beginning. Like season 1, I think they got to the point of when they're married.
Okay.
But I need to rewatch it because it came out like I think before COVID or during like the beginning.
Yeah.
Of it. I'm not sure. It's just called The Great.
See, I thought it was a movie. Because I kept seeing it when I was researching. I kept seeing The Great on Hulu. And I was like, oh, a movie, a documentary.
No, it's a TV series. Like, they barely scratched the surface in the first season. Because I think at this point, they're, like, kind of tolerating each other. But I think they got married. But I think they end up... I don't know if they end up having sex in the show.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
Just to make it more Hollywood-ish.
Yeah. But, of course, they're all, like, 30 years old in real life because it's Elle Fanning.
Oh, okay.
Who plays Catherine.
Gotcha.
So, she's about our age, I think.
I think so, yeah.
So, she's still pretty young, but, like, not 14 years old young.
That's
People would get petty about it, but I was like, that's history. They get married young.
Oof, I need to watch this show now.
Do it. Let me know what you think.
I will.
I'm probably going to rewatch it.
I want to see for, like, the true facts and what's not true.
A lot. Probably.
Oh, yeah. That's how it always is. But
yay! So thank you for joining us this week.
Yeah, if you guys have a lot to look forward to in October, we are going to do a lot of fun things. Stay tuned for October.
I think this comes out in October, the first week.
Yes, it is. So stay tuned for the rest of October.
Yay! We got some good ones. Probably some ones that you might think of knowing that you would cover around this month.
Right. So think about October. Think about the holiday that's coming up soon.
Ooh,
think
spooky.
about the so spooky stuff could be coming your way. All right.
So where can you find us? You
can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Historia the Podcast. And I never mentioned our Gmail in the last episode. I'll mention it now. It's okay. You could follow us on Twitter at HistoriaThePod1. And then you can also email us at historiathepodcast@gmail.com. So if you have like any ideas for what you want us to talk about, if you want to tell us your favorite Lunchable flavor, meal, I don't know.
From last week.
From last week, you might still be thinking about Lunchables.
Good word.
Tell us who your favorite queen is.
Hell yeah.
Do what you want. You can just say hi. Doesn't matter.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Have a great week.
Be a good human.
Yes.
And make history.
Oh my
That's
God.
my thing. See, you have a thing, I have a thing. It's going well.
God.
This is going really great.
Bye.
Goodbye.